Hey guys, once again, thank you for coming on the show and the Kampai Sugai podcast. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This is actually the last podcast before the New Year starts. So, congratulations for making it this far at the end of 2022. I mean, it's not the complete end, it's almost the end, but it's almost there. We're almost at the finish line, but 2022 is about to finish, and I hope you guys had a great New Year because, like for myself, I had a great New Year. I had a lot of things that I accomplished, and of course, there's always good and bad, but at the end of the day, I think that there's a lot of transitioning processes, especially for myself. I transitioned a lot through 2022. So, um, anyway, I have a great guest on my show today who is part of the reason why I really enjoyed 2022 and why I'm bringing this person on the show today who had me on their show, but now they're on my show now. So I'm very honored to have someone who's a storyteller, a podcaster like myself, someone who's an author, and someone who's really making a movement here in Hawaii about really promoting Filipina individuals here in Hawaii. So I want you guys to give a round of applause for our last guest for 2022, Miss Chachie Abara.
Wow, that was a really amazing intro. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. Well, you deserve it. You do a lot for the community, especially here for in here in Hawaii. And um, one thing I tell people all the time is I don't see anybody representing Filipinas like yourself. I mean, there's other companies out there. There's other organizations, but someone to do like an open platform like this, I feel like you do a lot for people like myself and my friends and others like us. So thank you for the opportunity and thank you for coming on this show today. We're gonna talk about a lot of those things you've been involved in and things that you're pursuing, and of course 2023 you probably have a lot of things in store. So yeah, just thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, honestly, it's really nice to also take a huge break after this entire year just
Mhm.
to reflect and to really find time to reground ourselves again. Because even as storytellers, content creators, there's just so much that happens behind the scenes, and taking some time to slow down this month was part of it.
Yeah, definitely. And like for me, I took a break this month just because I had a lot of family fly in. I mean, this was the one month I mean, I didn't really expect it just because um actually end of November and then December, just all through those 2 months, or the later half of November and then December, it was just family coming in, coming out, and I had to go to all these parties, all these luncheons, all these dinners, all these different things. So I took a break just to kind of spend time with people because um, a lot of these people I haven't even met or I just haven't seen in over 8 years. So it's good to kind of take a step back and then really spend time with people and really be engaged with them. And then even with podcasting, we're engaging now. This is also another platform where people can connect and really build communities. So you know, um, yeah, like you were saying, it's a good time to take a break. So, and I'm glad you got to take a break as well. Definitely for the season. So, let me talk about. I kind of want to talk about your podcast first. So Kasamahan Co or Kasamahan, which is I think colleague in Tagalog. Is it colleague? Okay, and then the Co is of course company. So um, talk to us about how that started and how and then why you got into podcasting from the beginning.
There's actually an interesting name story behind the entire name, because Kasamahan Co, yes, Co is a Zing company, but in Tagalog work, if you put Kasama Ko, Ko, it's
Mm-hmm.
like saying you're a full sentence, like a friend or a colleague or just a companion. So
Mm.
but Kasamahan Co really started. in 2020, back in the before the pandemic even started. I was just very curious about everything that's been going on within the Filipino community. And fun fact, Kasamahan Co wasn't the first name. The
Mm.
first name, and I think a lot of people know, is um, it used to be called Reclaiming Filipinx Identity Show. And it was called that because during that year in 2020, I actually was reclaiming my own Filipino journey
Mm.
because um, I wasn't really into like going into my Filipino culture growing up. I feel like being in Hawaii, there's just so many there's so many Filipinos, and it's just like I didn't really appreciate it as much as I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I really entered into the University of Hawaii, there was classes that was available for me to take, and that was when I was just like, there's so much more that I didn't know about. Um, and even to this day, and I'm really grateful for um, taking that Ilocano placement exam that
Mm.
allowed me to even like learn more about like where my family came from in the Philippines, and that there's so many different languages, there's so many different culture, and like it's so important to talk about topics like mental health and a lot of the uneasy topics that are very easily swept under the rug. Um, and 2021 is where I changed the name to Reclaiming Filipinx Identity, to making it more like inclusive, very open to saying Kasamahan Co, because as a Filipino, as people identify to be Filipino, it's not an individual journey; it's
Mm-hmm.
together journey. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about reclaiming your heritage in the Filipino community. I mean, even for myself, I had to figure out. And we talked about it on your show, of course, as well. But like for me, my journey as well was really trying to figure out like what that really meant. And then for myself, I think I understand it now, but I mean back then it was just kind of like it's just a title. Like, oh yeah, Filipino Japanese, for myself. And I was like, okay, even Japanese too. I didn't really understand the significance of it until later on, where it's like, oh, that represents multiple generations. For myself, I'm fourth generation Japanese and fourth generation Filipino. But then there's generations before that had to go through their own journey, up possibly to reclaim their heritage, but also their journey into coming to Hawaii and building a family, building um, their influence here. So it's there's a lot of story to that. And then for you, of course, I probably think that when you're kind of diving deep into your family heritage, you've discovered things about your generational line that was like, whoa, that I didn't realize that. I didn't feel the impact until you saw that. So talk about that for yourself, like actually diving into your generational line and how that influenced you going forward in your life.
Like being able to start a podcast really became like my outlet to really learn more about my own culture. I think if it wasn't for if it wasn't for the people that I've encountered during the pandemic, um being in spaces like um NC Filipino Mental Health Initiative of San Francisco, a lot of this Filipino community that was accessible for me at that time, that allowed me to actually take more initiative to invest into my own story, was a huge stepping stone to why I wanna build the same here in Hawaii, because there is just so much to really understand. And I feel like as someone who went through that um reclaiming process, it really took it on me to reflect and understand that in order for us to know what we want in life, part of it is looking back in our history and why we were the way we were. So that was one of a huge, I guess, like learning moments for me is like really understanding that
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason why the way we act is because this is what history said, and it's part of it. It's just like how can I use this and use what I learned, my skills and my passions to kind of like put it out there to the world.
Mm-hmm. How many generations of Filipino are you? I don't know
Uh,
how to word that, but how many generations?
well, I actually wouldn't, I don't know how to, but I know I am a 1.5 generation. I
Mm.
came to Hawaii when I was 8 years old, so a little young.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even then, like I would say my dad is the most involved within the Filipino community. Like everyone within the older population would know my dad. And I think that's where I got it from. Like that same charismatic energy, that same energy that um really was friendly and like so out there in connecting with a lot of the Filipino youth.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like that I took on that I passed on to me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, that ideology and that the stories. That's interesting. 1.5 generations. I don't think I've ever heard that before. But I mean, that's pretty cool because I mean, well, first of all, your English is actually really good. You know what I mean? Especially for, um, even being like a first generation. Your English is actually really good here. So, and then for actually, it's interesting because a lot of Filipinos I meet too, their English is actually really good. You know what I mean? The transition to it. Do you think do you think it's easier for for people that are Filipino to pick up English, or if if they move to like America and stuff like that, um to really pick that language up and even pick up some customs as well?
I I would say so, especially because even now, like looking at the state where Philippines is,
Mm-hmm.
there's even going back to history is like there's a lot of the Western education that just influenced the Philippines a lot. So even in the Philippines, there's a class where it allowed it allowed them to learn how to speak English. There's actually classes that help and um um
Understand or
better understand.
yeah. Okay, good, good. Yeah, I mean, like for myself, I haven't gone to the Philippines ever. I hope to go one day and meet some people that my dad met in the Philippines because I mean, like I was talking to you on your show, my dad used to go to the Philippines for mission, Christian mission trips a lot because and he used to go many different times. So hopefully one day I get to go and visit the Philippines and actually have my own stories and experiences myself. So um, yeah, it should be really, really good, and I'm actually excited to even learn more about my Filipino heritage as well. But but yeah, thank you. I mean, I wanted to say thank you for like having me on your show because like it had me to think about like a lot of things that I haven't thought about for a long time, and it's good to kind of reflect on that because because sometimes we get caught up in life so much that we forget about certain things, certain things that our great grandparents did, or how our journey getting to, um, my family's journey getting to Hawaii. So, it made me think about those things and their stories as well, so thank you for that. Um, I want to go into your book. So you have a book that you are an author of, a children's book called Nasirig's Great Adventure. I don't know if I said that correctly, but
Yes, actually, and there is actually a slight change to the title
oh,
and to everything.
okay.
So, it will be the first, but that I'm saying it out there. But the entire title is going to be called Nasudi's Surprising Adventure.
Okay.
And I say that there's a slight change in the title because after even talking about it our with our professor and like really getting professional advice on it, is I'm excited to really put this out to the world. I know right now it's in its budding stages of like crowdfunding source and trying to um really have the community to help out and to help us with the
The support.
financial cause.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this book started because I was really inspired with seeing a lot of the representation that I saw, especially within media, and I felt like there isn't a lot of resources out there for even our generation, and I really wanted to help, like, kind of like kickstart like and produce more of these bilingual books out there to allow people to learn their own language. Like for me, it would be Ilocano.
Mm, mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, and then the whole book is in Ilocano.
It's in Ilocano and then translated into English.
Mm, mm-hmm. So how was that process of creating a children's book from scratch, and then because it's very niche, you know, I mean, especially because of like um there's certain ways of writing a children's book that will keep people's attention, but then it's very educational as well because you're doing it all in Ilocano. You're basically teaching another generation, you know, a language that's being carried over to, you know, um, Gen. I don't even know what you call that now. After Gen Zs, I don't know what you call it. Gen double A. You know what I mean? But you know, you're teaching a new generation. So how is that process for yourself and your team?
The process and like frankly being transparent, it's very hard.
Mm.
I feel like it takes a lot of patience. And I say this because like when it came to even starting the story, the storyline of the book, it was because I was really inspired by my nieces and nephew, and that story really came from them. And being able to translate it into myself and my experiences and trying to put it out there in paper, and
Mm.
being able to even like talk with my um, colleague and ask him for advice and how we should kind of like create this was one thing that helped like put together the process. And once we got the story out there, being able to reach out to a really good friend of mine that I was able to connect with through the mental health spaces, was able to illustrate and put the vision really together. And even now, like thinking about it, because we just met like a couple of days ago, like we are just so excited to like to really have this for the world next year.
Mm-hmm. What's your plans for it? So besides distribution, of course, you're gonna probably go and send it to like Barnes and Nobles, or you know, there's like other places like the Amazon. What's your hope from it, and what do you plan on doing with, uh, you know, Nasirig's surprising adventure?
I really want to give back to my community in terms of like really going to my old high school where I came from and sharing this book with them.
Mm.
Because I feel like it's something to have a children's book, but it's something to really share to the kids out there that it's never too late to do what you love to do, even when you're stuck. Um, and also like being able to just outreach the Ilocano language because I know that Ilocano is not as out there as Tagalog,
Mm.
but I
Mm-hmm.
really want to show that people can relearn their mother language again, and to this is the first start is an Ilocano children's book, and to get folks to learn it.
Yeah, definitely. Like yeah, like you were saying, the first start is children's book or exposure. You know, in that sense that people can see a new media from it and then actually understand it and then embrace it and it's a great thing. You know, I think like I forgot which other language it is. There's another one that's like an ancient language. I want to say it's Chinese, but it's like there's like only a handful of people that understand it, and it's like, dang, you know, if you don't we don't share that language from you know with others through stories or through media, then that becomes lost. You know, because um, you know that's why certain languages are preserved because we have to share that um, and it could be through food, it could be through stories, like I said, and other forms of ways of communicating that. But yeah, if that language is not practiced, then it disappears, you know, and then it just becomes part of history rather than current events. So I think it's great. I think that's amazing what you guys are doing, and still rooting for you guys to really get the funding for it, and um, yeah, talk about that. You know, for like the funding, what you guys plan to do with you know your Kickstarter, and like what do you plan to do with the money that you will get from the donations?
Yeah, I think with the even Kickstarter and being an all or nothing source of crowdfunding, it really is nice because once we meet the goal is we'll be able to really meet the rewards that people have chosen to back the project with, and we really wanted to use the money that we raise to not only go to the printing part of it but to also be like our kind of like stepping stone to like um put the books in production
Mm-hmm.
and to like make it where we're able to kind of like share it here in the community,
Mm-hmm.
because I doing a lot of research on like children's book publishing, it's not as
It's not as
cheap
clean.
as
Mm.
yeah.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
Well, I'll also look up some of my research to see if you know there's ways we you know I can help you out and figure out ways of making the process easier because Kelsey and I do know a production company or publishing company I should say, but yeah we'll see if we can help you out in some bits, but so yeah, moving on from that, I want to go into the more mental health side because, you know, especially if people actually click on your links, you talk about mental health very prominently, especially on your profile. You talk about um, imposter syndrome and you know how it affects those that are Filipinos or even what's the other one? Trying to think now. Trying to remember. But yeah, imposter syndrome. Negative positivity as well as the other one. So could if you feel comfortable about it, could you go into those topics for me?
Yeah, so aside from like being a cultural advocate and like working with our Filipino community, one biggest thing in my heart is mental health. Um, and it's because I feel like it's one of the most like topics that are very tabooed within our community,
Mm-hmm.
and like being able to like put awareness around it and like really like sharing to like a lot of the youth out there, especially that it's okay to feel what you need to feel right now, and it's okay to just have that space and have that boundary, and it's okay that it's it's okay to struggle, and it's okay to ask for help even when you feel like you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to kind of like put this into practice in everything that I do is one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to bring the Filipino Mental Health Initiative chapter here in Hawaii is an outlet and even a source for our community to have this kind of like a chapter of resources
Mm-hmm.
for our community to be like, you're not alone. Like, there's a lot of people out here in the community that are struggling that'll be here for you. Um, and this chapter was actually based in San Francisco,
Mm.
and like being able to kind of kickstart it here in Hawaii and was something that was actually really nice because being able to like have our first event as a talk story and talking about different topics and questions that we all raise and
Mm.
seeing that, well, like I've never like saw someone like actually felt the same way, especially our experiences with our family and our experiences with X, Y, and Z, the expectations. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think like you know, the topic of mental health, it's just very broad because there's so much that goes into that as well. But it's also kind of new as well, you know, the idea of mental health. And just because I think within the past, like, maybe 10 years, it's become a bigger topic just because of people becoming aware of their own emotions and, you know, how that affects their life in general. Because I think before when you grow up, you grow up and you think like, oh, you just gotta suck it up, or certain things like, you know, you shouldn't express your feelings, you shouldn't express your opinions, your emotions. You should just kind of abide to a certain standard, and then if things and then you'll find success from it. But the thing is, you know, with mental health and everything, um, there's an aspect to it which people need to realize that it's something that it's not all just about expressing opinions and expressing feelings and expressing things that you're having difficulty with in your mind. It's something that's um, kind of a release. It's a shared thing. Like, "Oh, I'm struggling through this, but I'm working through it." You know, that's the whole part of the health part. The mental part is identifying the problem, and then the health part is I'm working through it. There's support groups. There's people that I can connect with. There's people that I can talk story with to really make myself a better person. You know, so um, I think that's a great thing that you're promoting that for yourself as well as for others as well, because it's a big topic today, and I'm glad that it's being shared because it's important for people to really work through their struggles, but also have people that are going through the same things to help them work through it as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think even even now, like I see even celebrities opening up about mental health, and even seeing that out there within mainstream media, it's like a great sign that it's okay to even take a break, like even to tell them like, oh, this is what I'm doing now, but don't forget to take care of yourself in the end. Like we're all human, and we deserve to really give ourselves the rest that we need.
Mm-hmm. I want to go into so a couple of them that I talked about earlier about like negative positivity, because I think that's such an interesting topic. You know, I saw a little bit of the article where it's basically, for those who don't know, it's basically um, negative positivity where, you know, you kind of just think of the positive things and neglect all the negative emotions that come with it as well. So it's kind of like sweeping things under the rug. In other words, you know, if there's like um, a certain thing that happened in your life that's really affected you. Maybe you got bullied or something, but then you just think of the positive things, but then you sweep under like, oh, I got hurt really bad by people, you know. So that's one thing. But like, how did you find that as something that's important for you to share with others?
I just realized it's actually it's toxic
Oh,
positivity.
toxic
Um,
positivity. Okay.
um,
Close. It's close.
close,
Close.
close, close. But I actually, when I was actually writing that article, and when I was thinking of like what article I should write for the blog, I really wanted to be real and to really share like something that I struggled with and kind of put it into paper and to say that um toxic positivity, even in the Filipino community,
Mm-hmm.
is so apparent. Like there's a lot of people in our community that would say to really like don't stress, like be positive. And sometimes it's nice temporarily, but then in the long run, the more that we say it, it's just like you're really avoiding trying to like say what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really um making yourself like not feel what you need to feel. Like it's okay if like right now like something didn't go right, like it's okay to put your frustration out there,
Mm-hmm.
because it's having that self-awareness of you of like, yes, this didn't go right, and it's okay. Like sometimes being able to even like acknowledge that and also and have that awareness of like it didn't go the way I want it to be, but I don't wanna I don't wanna pretend, I don't wanna fake it to where it's gonna like have a long term effect on me. Like I really want to be able to like expressively like say what I have to feel
Mm-hmm.
in my own like how I able to cope with things.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I think like for me, I had a level of that growing up as well. It's just more something like, you stay positive. You make sure like, even if situations around you, just stay positive. But then like, I realized over time it's okay to embrace some of that, And then like for me, recently my dad just passed away, um, back in like late October. And the thing is, I tell people like, I don't suppress that emotion of that loss. I accept it, which is great, and I'm very openly able to talk about it because, the thing is, like, my dad had such a big influence on my life, and losing him now in this stage it was heartbreaking for me. But I think for me, I just really embraced that loss and that negativity. Like, he's not in my life right now physically, but he's still part of my life today. And you know, for me, I embrace the thankfulness about that. Like, I'm thankful that he was there in my life, because there's a lot of individuals that are, they never grew up with a fatherly figure. They had to find a fatherly figure, and they didn't have that experience. And for me, my dad was someone I really looked up to. So I'm really happy today to share that with others. And then, sometimes I start sobbing, you know what I mean? Just thinking about him. But it's usually at nighttime. But the thing is, it's so refreshing for me to talk about that and even express that, because um, there's some people that are in denial, with loss like that. They just kind of neglect it. It's another thing of toxic positivity, you know what I mean? They just sweep it under the rug, and they don't talk about how impactful that loss is. You know what I mean? They're just kind of like, oh, things are gonna keep going along, whatever's. But it's for me, it's refreshing for me to talk about it and to let people know, like, I don't think I'll ever get over it, and I never will. But the thing is, what keeps me going is, my thankfulness for that, my thankfulness for my dad, and my experience with that. But I think growing up, I experienced a level of toxic positivity where I just kind of like, I didn't get accepted to a college. That's okay. I'm just gonna move on from that. But the thing is, it did affect me, because I really wanted to go to like University of Washington, or I wanted to go to like Seattle Pacific University, and not being able to go there, even though I think I got accepted to SPU, but I didn't get accepted to UW in the engineering program. But not being able to get accepted into those or going into those programs and staying here in Hawaii, it affected me a little bit because I was more disappointed in myself, but at the same time, um, I realize now that even though I didn't get into those places, there was a lot of things that happened in my life today that I'm really thankful for. You know, I wouldn't have met my wife today. I wouldn't have been able to get the jobs that I was was able to get, and I wouldn't be in the position I am today if I stayed maybe in Seattle. Um, so yeah, that's something that I think I've experienced in my life as well. So, how about for yourself? What's maybe some like examples that you've kind of experienced that maybe toxic positivity?
I think for me, and I just want to say like thank you for like sharing a little bit about like of like your dad, and I feel like right now like I could see his even presence with you.
Mm.
But I think this is me with the mindset of like me getting used to like, oh wait, this is not my podcast. I have to like I'm being interviewed.
That's okay. I mean, well, podcasts are their conversations, whatever. They're
But for me, I feel like I've embodied a lot of that toxic positivity kind of mindset in my life, especially because like I've always wanted to control like the outcome of things. Like I'm scared of failing, I'm scared of rejection, and I'm
mm.
scared of like going through these things.
Mm-hmm.
But like recently, like I've even learned that it's okay when things doesn't go its own way. Like I feel like for me, like there's been moments where I've lost opportunities and missed opportunities, and being able to say that it's okay to not it's okay to for that thing to happen, because like in
Mm-hmm.
the end there is particularly a lesson behind those. And when it comes to just like where I am in life, it's like there's this sort of like acceptance, and also how am I able to now learn from those missed
Experiences.
chances. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's a better word to put out there.
Yeah, to figure out what to do with those opportunities. All right. Um, yeah, there's a saying. I think it's like one door closes, another one opens. So I truly believe that. You know what I mean? Especially for like anything. Like for the my podcast. I used to really try to like um try to put it in a bubble of like professionalism. I really wanted to do like um certain things. This is before I started back onto doing Kampai Sugai podcast. But when I was doing Talk Story with Gavin Sugai, I really wanted a level of professionalism. Didn't want to swear, but even though I swear now on my podcast, um but not I mean naturally I don't swear, so well, I don't know about that. But the thing is, I there's a level of like professionalism I really wanted to project, and I think I found, through like self reflection, I feel like I found a level of dissatisfaction with that, and I understood it early on. So that's why I took a big break from it. But coming back to it now, there's like a whole level of like, man, I don't really have to do certain things. Like I don't if sound cuts out sometimes, whatever it happens. If maybe I'm filming, we forget to press the record button, which hasn't happened, which I'm very thankful for. But um, you know, maybe we didn't press the record button. That's fine. Things like that happen. So I'm, um, with like toxic positivity, I think that's such a really underlying thing that people go through on a daily basis. Whether they're working or whether um, they're just going throughout life. It's something that's it's a great way of projecting that, or the way of explaining what toxic positivity is. It's such a great way of explaining that yes, there's negative things that happen. It's not okay to brush it off. It's okay, but it's good to reflect on it and to see what the lesson is to be learned from it. Like you were saying, you know you learned a lot from it, and how that can be used to really propel yourself forward. You know, and I think like for yourself, I think there's like so much that you can do right now because like you've experienced so much and you've already are like building your community up. So I you know I think that's I think even if you missed any opportunities, there's a, a a community that you're still growing. So I don't you know it's just kind of like it's just a roadblock, but you get through the roadblock. You know.
Mhm. I think yeah, that's a really great like point to bring up is like with every single thing that I've experienced and have gone through, part of it is I didn't do it alone. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's always the community that was there, like supporting you and being able to help you in every single way. And I think that's what I'm really grateful for. Like with this year alone, is like it's okay to take a step back and really put that energy now to yourself and like you using all the things that you've gone through as a way for you to really give back, give the love that you gave out to the world to now yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. And I want to switch over to imposter syndrome because I mean that's another strong topic as well because it's it really is a real thing. It's you know for people it to understand what imposter syndrome is. It kind of it's like a feeling of inadequacy. You know what I mean? Like you're always inadequate for um, anything you do. Like it's kind of like it's like a unnecessary humbleness. You know what I mean? That's a good way of thinking of it because it's like you're just saying like you're downplaying everything, but then you're not you really don't really feel like you belong in certain positions. You know what I mean? Like you feel like you're just kind of a phony, but it's not really that. But then there's a lot of people that do struggle with that. So, um, can you talk to us about imposter syndrome and how it's you know like affected yourself or others that you've encountered?
Yeah, I think besides like toxic positivity, like imposter syndrome, what I have to say would be the number one thing that's been getting in the way of some of the things that I wanted to do is like I've always felt like I'm not capable of like doing certain things
Mm.
because I feel like someone else can do it a better job at it than me. But I think
Mm-hmm.
it's part of it is like this thing within our culture of like being shamed to really put ourselves out there because it's like I'm I'm not good enough or like I it needs to be a certain way. But even like letting go of that control and that kind of like that fixed mindset of just like this needs to be here, that needs to be that. It's just like, oh, you really have to like let yourself go and be able to like to be grateful of like this is something that I'm good at, and even if it's not perfect in the moment, like really going to like actually do it yourself
Mm-hmm.
and using that kind of like feedback to help you make it better in the end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like I mean it's such a strong you know emotion like imposter syndrome honestly like I was saying a lot of people go through it you know what I mean it's something actually in the Filipino culture it really is a thing because you know with the Filipino culture a lot of them are very like oh no I don't know if I could do that or like you know they're very helpful but then also they're very like it's like Japanese. You know, they're like, oh, no, you know, I don't know if I could do that, but like, thank you for acknowledging. You know, it's like a humbling thing, but in a lot of ways, it's um, like I was saying before, it's like an unnecessary humbleness. Like I think it's good to be proud of like things that you accomplish or things that you really strive for, but then and then um it's I think it in a lot of ways it's okay to believe in yourself in building something because like for me, um even with podcasting, like there's a lot of things I can say like, oh, I think this person can interview so much better, or you know what I mean. Like there's so many things that can go in someone's mind to think stuff like that, but then it's easy to forget like the individualism part about it. Like, um, this person does a completely different show, right? But I admire what they do and I love what they do, and I love celebrating that. You know what I mean? And then I love what I
Mm-hmm.
do. I'm not saying like one person interviews away better than another person, but the thing is, it's like, um, I think for like newscasters, you maybe you can say that, but but like for podcasters, everybody does a different show. In my opinion, you know what I mean. So
Mm-hmm.
like, it's 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 a toxic thing to compare and say like this person does a better podcast than this person because podcasting in the general sense is a storytelling part about it. Everybody does a different story. So to and like for me I struggled through that before as well because I was thinking like, am I doing a good enough job to like interview somebody? Back when I was doing Talk Story podcast, but I was like, am I doing a good job to like represent that person? You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm adequate enough. I'd rather be behind the camera doing the production part. And honestly, I still think that way. Like I think like I rather be the production side rather than be the face and someone uh to help share someone else's story. But I think at this point um I'm okay with being like in front of the camera and like being the host of the show or whatever, you know what I mean, whatever that means. But I've accepted that part and I think it's okay. I just have to be better. Like that's my mindset now. I just have to be better every time. But like before, yeah, I would be like, I don't know if I should be in front of the camera. I don't know if I should be the host. So that's just the struggle I had to go through as a podcaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can relate to those emotions. Like there will be moments where I'm just like, oh, I like to be the behind the scenes. Like I don't think I can do this. But then as you continue to do things like what you said, like you kind of like get the hang of it, and like as you really focus to having this kind of growth mindset of like there will be things that are not, there will be uncontrollable things, and part of it is enjoying the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one thing that I want to like put forward to the new year is just enjoying the experience and looking things as a lesson in disguise ahead.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So I kind of want to wrap up some things. So first of all, what's next for Kasamahan Co? I mean, do you have future plans? I know you have a series that maybe you can talk about with us, but uh, tell us what's next for you.
What's next? That's actually a really good question. I want to say I'm wanna say that I'm gonna be putting it on the down low for now.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people saw on the Instagram that I am really doing a lot of archives of like the
Mm-hmm.
cicada stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of it is really being able to actually just step back into the podcast world for now
Mm-hmm.
and to really be more in community, um, in a lot of the spaces here, and really being able to develop those relationships a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe further along those lines is well, push out the content that I've been wanting to like share with the world But for now, what to expect for Kasamahan Co is stay tuned because there will be, I hope, content that will be out there, but will be released in like in due time. Just now, my biggest focus is with the children's book
Mm-hmm.
because that is one thing that I've been excited to really get it out.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. And you know what? I'm excited for not just your book, but also for your break as well, because I think there's gonna be a refreshing time where you're gonna start thinking of different things and different ideas. And um, when I took my break, there was a whole list of things that I thought of doing when I came back to it, but that was like 3 or 4 months in, even though I took like over a year break. But the thing is that other part, all those other months, that was just me relaxing. I could have started it way in advance, but I think for yourself, it's okay to like take your time through it, because, um, you know, the podcast is always gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's always gonna be there in the space somewhere in the internet, but like, I think your mental health will be more is something that is more important to really to push through. You know what I mean? And even like taking a break. It's okay to take a break. You know what I mean? And that's how we connected through. You
Yes.
know, shout outs to Nikki.
Yes.
But yeah,
I think
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh I I just wanted to say like thank you to that podcast episode because that really gave me an introspection of like what I needed and like really helped me really like whoa, like it's okay. Like the community will always be there. Like
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's like so many like things that we want to do. Like there's so many ideas you want to put out there, but
Mm-hmm.
if you don't take care of yourself, you're gonna lose yourself instead.
Mm-hmm. You'll fade away first. You know what I mean? So that's a completely I coming from experience. It's the same thing. Honestly, I gained a bigger community after I came back than when I did, than when I left. So it's okay to take a break. I think it's 100% okay. So other than that, what's next for in 2023? What's something that you want to focus on specifically? It could be with the book, or it could be something personal for yourself, like a personal goal. It could be something that's internal, or it could be something external. But what's next for you in 2023?
That's a really good question, and I would say for me is to really focus in taking care of my personal relationships, especially developing a better relationships with my family and my parents
Mm-hmm.
because they're not getting a little younger and being able to invest more time in my family and with career and work wise I want to be able to focus also on the children's book and making sure that it will not only reach a certain community like the Filipino community, but also reach out to who needs to hear the story. Um, and yeah,
Awesome. Hey, that's incredible. Building relationships. That's something that's exactly what my first thing my first go around with podcasting was all about building relationships. It is now same thing, but that's a beautiful thing. It's great. Awesome. And then for me, should I share it? I guess I'll share it. 2023. So, one thing my dad always preached about was you know, being better. You know what I mean? Or being better than your regular self. Of course, I'll always say that my dad's sermons, some of them were pretty boring. But like the thing is, um, one thing I always got from it was to really strive to be a better person of yourself. So like for me, if I want to really honor his legacy here today, and going forward, I think like 2023 is something that I can really focus on just being a better version of myself. And what that looks like is everything that I'm doing now, just trying to find a way to really refine all of that and make it something that's better, because that was something that he had a hope for me. He wanted me to be a better person, not like be better than him, but just be better version of myself. And that's, that's something I want to focus on in 2023. So, but yeah, that's that's my thing. That's my New Year's resolution. I don't have anything else except to just be better. But Chachi, first of all, I really want to thank you for coming on the show and really talking about what you're doing, as well as sharing some stories for yourself about like the struggles and how you've been able to overcome it, or how you're working through it. And I'm really excited about your journey in 2023 as well as the years up ahead. But first of all, before we start ending off, do you have anything you want to shout out? Um, of course, Kasamahan Co is already there, so if people want to follow her on Kasamahan Co. But do you also want to share your IG as well as any other platforms that you're on as well?
Yes. Right now, I'm actually private on my personal account, just because I'm rebuilding myself.
Mm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I do want to personally shout out the chapter that I created this year alongside many hands that went to form this chapter. Is if you are Filipino American, and wants to really get out there and help us um talk story, there is an Instagram. It's at FMHI _Hawaii. And you'll be actually seeing more of these talk stories in the next year.
Mm.
Alongside that is, if you want to support our Kickstarter, you can find it on the Instagram at Nasirig's Great Adventure. And it ends on January 30th, 2023. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
those are the main two that I want to give a shout out for now. And certainly not the least, I do want to give a personal shout out to this amazing youth that continues to help create history and make history is our Filipino curriculum project kids,
Mm.
because I'm excited for what's in store for them for the next year and in 2024.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, once again, Chachi, thank you for coming on the show. Really, it was a really blessed. I'm really blessed to have you on and be able to talk story with you again on my show this time rather than your show. But of course,
Yes.
um, you're always welcome to come on. And I'm really happy for your success and what you're gonna do going forward, because it's so beautiful. But um, at the end of the show, we always do a cheers. So if you have a drink, I have my
I
water.
do.
What is that?
It's water. And then the cup says the universe has big plans for me. So
Oh, that's
taking
cool.
it, the universe has big plans for all of us.
Yes, definitely. Well, Chachi, to you and to your big plans during 2023, and to everything you're doing, I hope for the best, and I'm going to continue supporting you because you're doing such a great job with everything you're doing. So, Kampai. Kampai to you, Chachi.
Kampai. Yes.